how it is evolving with time. And what this does is this model keeps feeding the, what is the temperature, because temperature is average kinetic energy. Okay, so from the atomic picture, you pass this thing, and also from the positions you can tell what is the shear. So here is actually, it is passing these values. So the shear stress is related to the positions, and from the kinetic energy, velocity, the temperature, it is feeding, then it is telling, look my dear boy, I am your boss. Whatever you do, but this should be the temperature and this should be the shear stress. So this is exactly, I mean, you ask any material scientist, he will say, no, nature does not work in this way, because we are unable to take into account the environment such a big, so we are doing it like this. But let me tell you, from all the experiences with our simulation work, this does not affect the basic physics. That is very interesting. And why it doesn't, I will explain you. Because as you go in the lower time scale, the processes become so fast and so speedy. Like you suppose you have a water, and I think you just have some water, and what is the average speed of a water molecule? It is 500 meter per second. And what is the continuum flow velocity? If a flow, what is flowing, it will be of the order of 0.5 meter per second. Now, the water molecules are interacting. I have to make very small change in each individual molecular velocity to set the average velocity to 0.5. So that is why when the control is coming from the top level, you know, it will not appear to interfere with the local properties and the interactions. And the whole subjects of dislocation theory, defects, movement, diffusion, we study by controlling from the top also. But it does not change the basic nature of the local interaction and the physics. Okay. And so, if this kind of law is really operating, it's very interesting. We cannot verify, because atoms, electrons, it falls in your inferential zone. You cannot directly observe. And if you have understood what is Heisenberg uncertainty principle, we cannot do anything. We really don't know. So, a top-down law may be very nicely working, we don't know that. And there is no way you can disprove that, because of the same Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. And a very interesting fact, as I told you, that these water molecules, 500 meter on the average their speeds. I just want to make sure the average speed, that means the bulk, the water is moving like this, it is moving at 0.5. It's a very minor adjustment. Where is 600 meter per second, where is 0.1, 0.5 meter. So it really does not affect the local kind of and the physics of the process. Okay. So now let me speak something. So the basic philosophy of what we are going to say is sharing of the body by different living entities. It's very important. And there is, so what we have done for the subtle, hierarchy of cellular automata. So this is the, let's say the total, the infinite intelligence, and it is connected with lower, another level of cellular automatas, which is again connected with other cells. So this, both of them, they interact. So like these two models interact, these two models interact, these two models interact. Here also there is interaction. So it is a top-down approach, very simple. I want things to happen like this. So a next level gets the instruction, and it is exactly like that. So local things are also happening. And you will say, oh, everything is happening local. Why to bring another interference? So this is very interesting here by Ghosh. God alone is in possession of mathematical, basis of psychic phenomena. So this is what we have been actually, we are talking. So I'm just putting in a simple, as a showing like cellular automata, but what are the different cells and what are their states, we really don't know. Because the psychological traits, we cannot, at this stage, we cannot put them, and that's what Ghosh is telling, God alone is in possess. What is the nature of these subtle elements? It is not so easy to understand. And Dr. T.D. Singh is to tell me that it is actually very simple, but when one comes to the stage of full realization, it is very simple, one can understand it. What happened? Okay. So, physical space, the physical space again, I am dividing and into infinite number of cells, and here it is each cell is actually can be occupied by a paramanu. Paramanu is the atom given in Sankhya philosophy. It is not this atom. It is that atom which cannot be further divided. Okay? And consisting of combination of 5 gross elements shared as, so I am now looking this whole physical space as shared by different living entities. Okay, so I have my body, there are different living entities, finally there are atoms, and our total, the whole universe is the body of God. Okay. So same way, if you look at the intelligence model, so this actually is the total intelligence of the God. So whatever information is there here is also there. Whatever information is there here is also there. And actually it is, so this kind of picture, and well, that the individual physical bodies are connected with individual subtle bodies, and the total physical body is connected, and yeah, this is a picture I may not be able to explain you so easily, and this is the infinite information, these are the finite. So they also have a direct interaction as for the Bhagavad, because it is revealed in our scriptures that sometimes the Lord directly reveals things to the living entity. So there is a connection. Otherwise, they are playing with this infinite intelligence through the physical matter. Okay? And well, this is I have already explained. Now in this direction, something very interesting. Cellular automata is something which is like rule based. These are rules actually, simple kind of rules. Now somebody may say that, are you going to give all kinds of physical process in cellular automata? I will say yes, it is. Why not? The reason is that cellular automatas can very nicely simulate a differential equation. We describe the entire creation, everything at all length scales. Schrodinger equation is a differential equation. Your fluid flow heat transfer is also a differential equation. Your stress equations, everything. When you talk about the atmospheric physics, is also a differential equation. And it's very easy and it is very well known in the community of cellular automata. If you read a very nice book by Stefan Wolfram, right? Yeah. So you see, this is a simple diffusion equation. So this is again, before I came, I asked Pawan, quickly give me a results. So a species is diffusing from here to here. It is moving according to this differential equation. So red means higher concentration. The same thing can be done if you just think this whole structure, the atomic arrangement of cellular automata, and you give some stochastic rules, and slowly you will see all the red things, they are going actually here. And it's very interesting that you can also actually incorporate a free will of conscious being. Because if you look at a large cluster of human beings, how they move, they all have free wills, you say that. But if you put on one side all with red shirt, and they are not possibly aware of their color, and this side all yellow shirts, and you will ask them to interact. After some time, so they are having free will, but they are exactly going to follow a diffusional pattern. So without sacrificing the local laws, without sacrificing the free will, everything, we can actually have a very nice top-down description of the physical world. So, I mean, if there are more thoughts from you, for me this is over. Thank you very much. And what I will say is that really if science spirituality dialogue has to move forward, we have to also make these changes, I mean, in the scientific laws. Like for example, putting the psychological thoughts in axiomatic patterns, in a giving a mathematical laws, because if you look at the history of science spirituality, the things are, everybody is realizing. The scientists, they are writing in their own personal diaries like ideas and opinion of Einstein. But really, within the scientific theory, it is a time that's what actually Dr. T.D. Singh meant actually when he said synthesis, eventually coming to that. So we require this, a holistic approach where number one, we can describe in a mathematical structure, in an axiomatic way, the different kinds of, like the three gunas and the different psychological traits and connected. The whole, see in this way, in the top-down approach, the whole universe is interconnected, otherwise it is not interconnected. Okay. And you really cannot say that this kind of behavior is more likely by matter and that kind of behavior is less likely that matter will follow that. Because how you are going to say this? Can somebody guess? You are going to say by the ease of computation. And if you go by ease of computation, the top down is more easy. Because if just I have to take a temperature value and assign it to the molecules, a collection of molecules, it is much easier. Because all I have to generate some random numbers and assign the velocity values as per a probability distribution, that's it. Now somebody will say you are bringing down this random number and probability, but if you look more closely, the software which generates the random number is actually a deterministic, it works on deterministic principle. So actually, possibly there is nothing random there. There is also an algorithm working out there. And so this is a kind of thought which is inspired by the Sankhya of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and I welcome any questions.
Thank you, Professor Ghosh. If there are any questions, please raise your hands. We will come to you with the mic. Yes.
Thank you very much for a very nice presentation. So I have a question, how the stochastic process that you mentioned and the free will go well together?
Yeah, actually, it's a good question. See, what happens is, there is a free will, like how I interact with professors here is some kind of a local. My free will comes from certain inputs which I am getting, which are very local. Okay. So free will, my free will is not like I am having the mystic power to see what is happening all throughout, and I am not interacting with, okay. If I am a person who is interacting with 1000 together, I can control them. If I am higher than that, I am talking about the same level. I simply tell them, suppose I have some 10,000 employees, so they are disturbed, I just make one announcement, I am going to give you 1 lakh bonus for the puja. And the whole thing changes actually. But mostly what happens, I am talking at the same level. Okay, so when I gave you this example that all the red shirts here, they don't know what they are wearing red shirts, and yellow shirts here, and they are talking. It's like a crowd. Slowly we will see the diffusion equation being obeyed. And it happens. In cellular automata, when we simulate diffusion, we do it for forestation, for sociological changes, all these things are done actually. So what is happening, you have to understand that these are, in cellular automata also rules are local, usually. So I am trying to talk about bringing a different kind of thing, a top-down kind of thing. But they are local rules. And local rule, what happens is that a very interesting feature, as I told you, I don't know how, maybe a mathematician should go deeper into this, but what happens is that any macroscopic thing has a very minor significance adjustments at the local level. Just like I gave the example of collection of water molecule, okay, the same way. So if I have to do that, so local features, interactions, everything is there, and but there is a kind of a macroscopic thing which is happening.
You just now mentioned that, from Dr. Vasudeva's talks, so free will is a symptom of consciousness, is getting manifested through the machine, if you like, the subtle body. So mind, false ego, intelligence. And you mentioned that they don't have local properties, they are non-local in some sense, if you like.
Non-local means non-local, well, but its presence is given to the local, because when you are non-local means it does not have any physical space, it doesn't have any coordinate.
Yeah, that is how I mean.
But it is connected with a very little physical domain. So in that sense, it's the information it is having a very little physical domain. I think we'll discuss during the lunch. He also has some question. Let me go to that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. You know, Sankhya is such a basic and very widely, is understood kind of a philosophical system in Indian tradition.
I don't think it is widely understood.
Let me.
Yeah.
One of the important aspects, the way it goes, that look, there is a system, there is a material system, and there is a, spiritual kind of a thing, and there is the two combine, and that's how ultimately the first stage what comes is called ahankar. Then of course mahati, which you can call buddhi and other things and all that can define. About particularly ahankar, the way the things are interpreted, that this is a false kind of ego, I think you also put as false ego, there I have tried to understand it more deeply in terms of the original formulations.
Actually,
let me. When two things mix, there is a new things which comes out. So this is a new product, combination of two systems, the physical and the spiritual part of it. So kar means processed. In Sanskrit, if you go to the word sanskar and ahankar and all these things and all that, basically this means that something which is processed. So ahankar is not false ego, it is the real real identity of that particular thing which is produced by combination of the two things. I have tried to compare these ideas, like, and this is now because there is a series of births and rebirths and all that. So like we have in India, actually in 1976 I went to USA and I got my social security number. At that time it went into my mind, some individual, all these individuals which are there in United States of America and all in the past and present and all that, they will have a unique identity. You can always distinguish who is who and who is different from this. Now in India they introduced Aadhaar card. So what is happening in India, so many population and the past and present and future and all that. And they will all be identified very differently by one particular number or whatever you call it, Aadhaar card. So in my understanding, what I did is, I understood right from that time, the idea went into my mind. And I thought that ahankar is kind of a
passport number or Aadhaar card number.
Identity in the physical nature. And that may be not only in one generation with some kind of additional data added into it. This may be, I may be born, let's say, an individual human being today. I may be born as a dog tomorrow. So same, but with some kind of changes. A tree may have, I may be. So Ahankar idea has, you rightly said that it is not properly understood. But my understanding is that there is something very natural identity. And like, the moksha. We define moksha when two things separate. Well, then it separates, that doesn't remain. So ultimately dissolution or dissolution of, let's say, the ahankar basically would mean what is moksha ultimately, the way it is defined. I have tried to go into very deeper kind of definitions, whether Shankaracharya or other kind of systems about the ahankar, and I found that really ahankar is not false. It is the real, identity of an individual in different forms and different ages, unless it comes to moksha and all that.
It's a matter of language, whether...
No, not a language, concept.
See, I'm telling you why it is false.
Right, not language.
Why it is false, let me tell you. We are human beings, we are telling that we are soul and other things. Can a dog say like that? He will just know what it is. That's why it's called false, because he is also a living entity. That's why it is false, I'll tell you. Suppose, as like today morning, Swamiji was showing, suppose you see a simulated world. And in the simulated world, or in my dream, just let me speak. In the dream, if I am playing some role, okay, that is also something real, it exists. I am actually enjoying, I am actually having the conscious experience. And you cannot say one type of conscious experience is real, another is unreal. This false word is contextual. Why? Because when I wake up from the dream, then I say, oh, okay, I am like this. Suddenly I realize that one day I am seeing that I am a student of class 12, I have to appear for JEE and this, that. It was a torture in the dream. I just forgot my identity, and when I wake up, I was very relaxed. Let me tell you, I was very relaxed. The point is, that identity is in a way real identity. But when it is said false, it is to a context. So if you look at the Sankhya, and if you look at what we have heard in the realized, see, that's Dr. T.D. Singh very much always emphasizing. He was telling that ultimately these things have to be realized. See, these elements, suppose our professor is here, he may be now, Indian restaurants are very common outside. I saw in Germany and other places also. So people are fond, and but usually I give some recipe, khichdi I give and say, so they are testing the whole thing together. But an Indian cook can immediately make out that this is coming because of this is because of this is because of this. So all the elements are mixed up, So that is where Dr. T.D. Singh is emphasizing that actually one has to go through the spiritual discipline. And he says, partly it is presentable, partly, with the intellectual mind one can comprehend. But because you don't know, rasgulla, okay, maybe one can say, okay, some sugar is there from the taste. But then what else is there? If you have not tested the components separately, it is very difficult to make out. So here also, the world is mixed up, like the electron, protons, neutrons, they are always together. Now how you can see or identify, it's not easy to, it's only in theory we do that, a separate electron in a box. But actually separating it out and having a cloud like that, it is not possible. So same way, so false word is, you have to understand, I think I understand, we have a real identity, and that real identity is throughout. Actually you must go through the philosophy of Ramanujacharya. Ramanujacharya is giving an elaborate description of this, that in this consciousness, there is a temporary part and there is a permanent part. Okay. So, but what happens today? Do I remember my identification when I was childhood? No, I don't remember. So, but it is the same identity. Yes?
Prof. Ghosh, there's one more question by the student. Can we take one more question?
We will continue during our.
Thank you, sir. There's actually a doubt I had. Might not be entirely related to your lecture. Is that I've read it somewhere that like after a few years, almost all of the molecules in your body gets replaced by a new set of molecules.
Yes.
So does this mean that the body has a new
that's,
identity, or
that's if you prove it to yourself. If I am going to prove to myself, that is the proof that I am not this body. Because I am the same person, I know that with this information, I am proving to myself that I am not this body. But you cannot prove to others because others don't know who you are. But for me, it is a proof that I am not this body. Of course, now, how can you show the molecules are changing? I mean, that is also another question because molecules are only inferred. Okay, so like dehinu asmin yatha dehe komaram yavanam jara tatha dehantar praptis dhiras satrime. So this shloka of Bhagavad Gita is sort of indicating to this proof actually. So it is changing actually, and our own conception about myself. Today if I am thrown out of my job, I have a different identity immediately. If my body gets paralyzed, I have a different identity. If my body becomes strong, I have a different, I am identifying myself, I am the same person. So the false is actually contextual. The real ego is there, but you know what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling, eventually what happens? Well, if one perfects this self-realization, he actually gets a spiritual form for the spiritual kingdom. And that is the real identity. I mean, it's like you are now seeing something, you have lost yourself. Yes, you are there. I know I am there. But what I am, that I don't know. We will discuss actually, because I think we are talking the same thing, but it's the language will always put a restriction for the realizations.
Thank you.
No, this is something which all spiritual practitioners go very deep. I mean, this is the fundamental question, who am I actually? So,
thank you, Professor Ghosh.
Yeah.
I'd like to now invite Professor Budev Sharma to please present a token of appreciation to Professor Sudipto Ghosh on stage. Professor Budev Sharma, can I please invite you on stage to present a token of appreciation?
I'll come down.
A round of applause to Professor Sudipto Ghosh.